So, number one, as far as a main responsibility, clearly communicate direction. Squeaker. Clearly communicate direction. That answers the question, where are we going? If you're on a team, you kind of want to know where you're going, don't you? What it is you're supposed to be doing, promoting, solving. Exodus chapter 18, verse 20 is a good verse for that. And then also Mark 1:17. So what to do with this one? It's the sharing the vision, it's the advertising the vision. And I would say this, share it often and creatively. Rick Warren, who pastors Saddleback Church, I think he still does, or I don't know if he's passed that off yet, but Saddleback Church in Southern California, he wrote a book on purpose-driven church. Very good book. And he said that at least every 30 days he shares the vision. Now, it doesn't mean he takes a whole service to do that, but he somehow creatively intertwines the vision that they have with his message or another way to communicate it at least once a month. Because he found out that if he didn't, people lost the vision. So clearly communicating direction. So there we have the overall vision of something, but what if we're the head of the usher team? What's the direction we have? We want to be the best ushers of any church in the world. And so what does that mean for us? How do we do that? Are we dead-eyed? Disengaged? No. We have our eyes open, we're greeting people, we have our hearts tuned in. Years ago when I was ushering, the guy who was the head usher at the time, his name was Charlie Moore, and he was the best usher I have ever known. Charlie would, one time I walked into church and, we'd meet in the back quickly, talk, pray. He'd give you your assignments where you should go. And there was about 1,200 people in this church at that time. And so, you get out there and you're assigned, and he comes by and he goes, the guy walked in, he says, "John, keep an eye on him today, would you?" I said, "Okay." So you keep an eye on him, and sure enough, during the service, this guy started acting up physically. And we finally had to go up and help him out. And after the service, I asked Charlie, I said, do you know that guy? He goes, "No, I've never seen him before." I said, "Well, how did you know to keep an eye on him?" He said, "Right here." When he walked in, he says, "I just knew." And I thought, okay, that's good. And so, that taught me to always do that afterwards. That's the benefit of the greater one in us, isn't it? It's supernatural. But anyhow, clearly communicating direction, bringing clarity to it. What's a mistake that we make with this often is that we think we did a good job communicating and we didn't. In our early years in Germany, when we were starting to recruit and gather a team, and we had about maybe 12 people around at that time, and we would meet together, and we had probably 5 or so different nationalities in that team. And eventually we were going to bring that down to 4 or 5 people as more of a leadership team, but we didn't know who those people were enough to do that yet. So we met together and we'd talk about where we were going and teach and all the things we do. So what we found out was that when we, meaning I in this case, thought I was communicating, and then somebody from, it was from another nation, would do something and you'd go, "What did you just do?" "Well, you said," I said, "That's what you heard?" You go, "Man, I was not very clear with my direction." And we had to learn to over-communicate because people hear differently when you say something. And this was kind of a new experience to us. So we had to learn how to over-communicate or communicate more clearly. So that's the mistake we sometimes make, is we think we're clear and we aren't. And sometimes you almost need to say, "So here's the direction I gave. What did you hear?" If you have to do that, you have to do that. Again, Habakkuk chapter 2, verses 2 and 3, right? Write the vision, make it plain. So the leader has to receive their direction from somewhere. If you're the head of something, a ministry, a church, you're going to get some of that from God. If you're a team leader down further, you're going to get it from somebody above. But you want to make sure that direction is understood and clear as much as possible, because how else can you pass it on? You can't turn something into a mission if you have unclear direction. We should say this: whatever we expect, again, we must direct. We had one before: whatever you expect, you must inspect. And this one is: whatever you expect, you must direct first. So whatever you expect, you must direct.